Before we sanitize them into metaphors, before psychology claimed them as archetypes, demonic entities had names, hierarchies, and specific mechanisms of attachment documented across millennia. This is operational intelligence from people who paid in blood to learn it. Tonight we're opening the grimoires that got people burned, and over this series, I'm going to show you why Converso ancestors hid protection formulas in what looked like grandmother's prayers. Welcome to the Void Experiment. A shepherd was given a flock of the king's finest sheep to tend in mountain pastures. The journey up the mountain was dangerous. Many paths led to cliffs, others to wolves' dens. Some sheep, frightened by the climb, broke away from the flock and fell into ravines. Others, seeing green grass off the path, wandered into thorn bushes and became trapped. But the faithful shepherd continued upward with those sheep brave enough to follow, knowing that at the mountain's peak lay the king's own pasture, where they would be safe forever. When he finally arrived with his remaining flock, the king asked about the lost sheep. "They chose their own paths," the shepherd replied. "I could only lead those willing to follow." The Lesser Key of Solomon. Not random chaos, a bureaucracy. Each entity gets a full dossier: name, rank, number of legions commanded, specific seal for summoning, a seal for binding, and most critically, what it does and what it costs. Ancients spoke of demons that took the sheep off the path of wisdom. Paimon, ninth spirit, king, commands 200 legions, appears from the northwest. Preceded by trumpet blast and roaring, grants knowledge of arts, sciences, and secret things, reveals locations of treasure, creates familiars who can teach all knowledge. Attachment risk, demands offerings. If you break protocol during dismissal, he doesn't leave. This isn't vague. Notice what's here: directional signatures, sound frequencies, knowledge specialization, and built-in attachment mechanisms if you fuck up the exit procedure. The grimoire warns, never summon alone. Always have a backup operator. Because if you lose coherence during the dismissal, you don't get to try again tomorrow. The circuit stays open. 3-tier hierarchy across all 72. 9 entities. Highest power. Most dangerous, require most complex protocols. Dukes, 26 entities. Specialized functions, regional authority. Princes/presidents/marquises, 37 entities. Specific operational domains. This mirrors the celestial hierarchy. That's not coincidence. Pseudo-Dionysius, 5th to 6th century, documented 9 choirs of angels in 3 triads. The demonic hierarchies are the inverted mirror. Seraphim, closest to source, to fallen seraphim, Beelzebub class, furthest from source. Cherubim, knowledge keepers, to corrupted cherubim, knowledge twisters. Thrones, divine will executors, to inverted thrones, will destroyers. Each tier has different attachment signatures. Higher demons attach through intellect and pride, lower demons through base impulses and fear. The attachment point reveals the hierarchy. Medieval demonologists knew this. They could diagnose possession by entity class based on behavioral signature, not superstition, pattern recognition. Jewish demonology, the incomplete creation. The Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, gives us a completely different origin story that explains why demons need human energy. Friday twilight, the 6th day. God is creating souls, disembodied consciousness, pure form without matter. Then the Sabbath begins. Creation stops. These souls exist incomplete. no bodies, trapped between angel, pure spirit, and human, spirit embodied. They need human energy to maintain form. That's not theology. That's operational mechanics. The Zohar calls them shadim, neither angel nor human, hungry. And here's what my Sephardic ancestors knew that got written out of sanitized versions. Lilith isn't one entity. It's a class. Adam's first wife in the Midrash. Yes. But in practical Kabbalah, Lilith designates a type of entity, female-formed demons, who attach through sexual energy and reproductive vulnerability. Medieval Jewish texts document specific protection protocols, amulets with Sanoi, Sansanoi, Semanglof, the three angels who pursued Lilith after she fled Eden, placed in birthing rooms, worn by newborns for 8 days, boys, or 40 days, girls. Why? Lilith-class entities target the liminal, birth, death, threshold states where consciousness is vulnerable. The ancestors probably knew versions of these without knowing why. Dybbuk, critical distinction, not a demon, a dislocated human soul, seeking embodiment. Someone who died with unfinished business, usually involving injustice or broken vows, can't move on, can't dissolve, seeks a living body to complete its task. Jewish exorcism, release ritual, is completely different for Dybbuk versus demon, because Dybbuk attachment is negotiable. The soul can be reasoned with, given what it needs, released. Demons don't negotiate, they leverage. And there's one more category in Jewish demonology that will matter when we get to attachment mechanisms. The mazakim, the harmers, invisible, numerous, created before the Sabbath, but without complete form. The Talmud says they surround us constantly, can see us, we can't see them, attached through human weakness, specifically through violation of boundaries. Why does this matter to you? Because the boundary violations that invite mazakim aren't mystical, they're practical. Breaking oaths, violating Sabbath, rest/regeneration, sexual boundary violations, entering spaces without permission. Islamic Djinn, the smokeless fire. Pre-Islamic Arabia knew the Djinn long before the Quran codified them. 3 distinct classes of conscious beings. Angels, created from light, no free will, execute divine commands. Humans, created from clay, free will, embodied. Djinn, created from smokeless fire, free will, can shift between embodied and disembodied states. That last part is critical. Djinn exist between dimensions. They can manifest physically or remain invisible. That's not magic. That's their natural frequency range. The Quran confirms their existence and adds operational details. They live in parallel with humans, have civilizations, families, religions. Some are righteous, most are not, and they can interbreed with humans, producing hybrid lineages. Iblis, the Islamic equivalent of Satan, is explicitly a jinn, not a fallen angel, refused to bow to Adam, cast out. But here's the difference from Christian demonology. Iblis isn't metaphor. He's a named individual with a documented agenda. Prove humans are unworthy by corrupting them. Uses jinn and human agents. The Qareen. Every human has one. Personal jinn, assigned at birth. Knows every thought, action, temptation. Islamic tradition says it's your constant companion, whispering suggestions. Muhammad confirmed he had one. Said, but Allah helped me with mine and it submitted. Attachment mechanism. The Qareen already has access. It's not about letting something in. It's about whether you resist or collaborate with what's already there. Seer, Islamic sorcery, requires 3 elements. 1. Intent, Directed will from magician. 2. Physical object, hair, clothing, photo, energetic link to target. 3. Djinn cooperation, entity performs the actual work. Attachment through sihr is externally imposed. Someone else opens the door. You don't get a choice. Protection technology. Ayat al-Kursi, verse of the throne, Quran 2:255. Specific frequency barrier. Recited before sleep, upon entering buildings, during vulnerability. Why does it work? According to Islamic scholarship, because it declares divine sovereignty over all realms. Djinn recognize this and cannot cross. That's not metaphor. That's operational protocol, preserved for 1,400 years, because it produces results. Medieval Christian documentation. The Catholic Church spent centuries documenting possession cases. They had to. Exorcism was official sacrament, required evidence, required repeatable protocols. The Rituale Romanum, 1614. This isn't superstition. This is the compilation of centuries of case files, and it makes critical distinctions. 3 levels of demonic interference. 1. Obsession, external harassment. Entity attacks from outside, creates misfortune, nightmares, intrusive thoughts. No internal access. 2. Oppression, physical manifestation, attacks on body, illness, injury, environmental manipulation, still external but escalating. 3. Possession, internal inhabitation, entity occupies consciousness, can take control of body. Diagnostic criteria for possession, speaking languages the person never learned, knowledge of hidden things, distant events, private conversations, strength beyond natural capacity, aversion to sacred objects/names, consistent reaction, not theatrical. These aren't vague. They're measurable anomalies. Here's what the Exorcism Manual reveals about attachment mechanics. Demons are bound by names. The ritual requires the exorcist to demand the entity's name. Once given, that name becomes leverage. Why? Because in this cosmology, a name is a frequency signature. Knowing it grants access to the operating system. Notice the pattern across all traditions. Solomonic seals use names. Kabbalistic protection uses names of God. Islamic defense uses Quranic verses that name divine attributes. Christian exorcism demands entity names. Names are technology. Second pattern in the exorcism records, demons can't act without permission. Even in documented possession cases, investigators found an initial invitation, often unknowing. Ouija boards, seances, occult experimentation, extreme trauma creating field collapse, sexual violation creating boundary dissolution. The entity requires a crack, then it leverages that opening. Third pattern, collective protocols are more effective than individual. The rituale requires witnesses, multiple operators. Why? Because solo operators lose coherence. The entity attacks the exorcist's field. If no one is there to maintain structural integrity, the circuit reverses. Same principle as the grimoires, never summon alone. What the patterns reveal. Across Solomonic, Jewish, Islamic, and Christian traditions, despite massive theological differences, the operational mechanics converge. 1. Hierarchies are real. Not all entities are equal. Different classes have different capabilities, different attachment methods, different leverage points. 2. Names are binding technology. Every tradition uses them. Every protection system requires them. Names aren't labels, they're access codes. 3. Invitation is required. Whether deliberate, ritual summons, unknowing, Ouija board, or imposed, seer trauma, attachment requires an initial opening. Entities can't brute force entry into intact fields. 4. Solo operation is catastrophic. Every system warns, have backup. Never summon alone. Never attempt exorcism alone. Because when your field collapses, you need someone outside the circuit to break it. 5. Boundaries are everything. Physical circles, salt lines, Quranic verses, sacred names, all create frequency barriers. Attachment happens when barriers fail. This isn't mystical. This is consistent documentation across centuries and continents from people who were testing these protocols in high-stakes scenarios. They weren't playing around. So that's the baseline. The historical hierarchies, the documented mechanics, the patterns that repeat across every tradition that actually dealt with this operationally. Next episode, we're going deeper into the one tradition that hid this knowledge so well that it survived 500 years of Inquisition. I'll teach you what my Converso ancestors knew that has been lost with modern suppression. Because when you can't practice openly, when the wrong candle arrangement gets you burned, you get very good at hiding operational protocols in plain sight. My great-grandmother's prayers weren't just prayers. She had specific hand gestures during prayer. The way she arranged salt on the windowsill or covered a lid on the stew. The stories she told that seemed like folklore were lessons. All of it was derived from decades of oral tradition. I'm going to decode it for you. Because some of you watching this, you inherited those same protections. You just didn't know what you were looking at. This world is blanketed by technology, and it's time we all got back to our roots. I hope this series helps you remember who you were before the modern world told you how to behave. See you in the next one.